What is up, guys? PoliticsGaming here, and today we are doing a brand new episode of the Federative Republic of Brazil. In a previous episode, essentially, we were working to get our deficit down. That is what the last couple of episodes have been concentrating on. However, we have gotten it to a pretty satisfactory level. We need to lower it just a tiny bit more over it. Our goal right now is to about 1 to 2%, at least under 3%. However, we are lowering our structural deficit to a satisfactory number. We now have our structural deficit at 1.99%, so it is now officially under 2%. Essentially, if you don't know what the structural deficit is the actual deficit of the country without taking into factors such as growth. So essentially just subtract growth from this, and this is what your actual deficit is. Your deficit right here does account for your growth rate, so it accounts for the expenses and for the it's essentially the percentage between your revenues and your expenditures. However, this does not take into account it takes into account your revenues and your expenditures. However, it does not take into account your economic growth, in which this number does. So that is the difference between your deficit and your structural deficit. What we're going to be doing today, we're going to be investing some money into highways in our country. So our country is severely lacking in any sort of highway structure. We need to definitely get this situation under control. What my goal is that we're going to try to see and finance a highway between Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. This would be a big economic boost to our nation, and it would also bring our country closer together. So the goal for right now is that we're going to be connecting a lot of our coastline, and we're also going to be getting our federal capital in the federal district. We are going to be connecting that all the way down into our southernmost regions, and then that will serve as the most commuted area. There's going to be a lot of highway connections that we're going to be doing. In the future, we are also looking at financing a high-speed rail between Rio de Janeiro and Brasilia, and as well as between Brasilia, Rio de Janeiro, and Sao Paulo. We're also looking at financing highways between all of these cities right here. So we're possibly it's going to be a lot of kind of micromanaging. I don't think I'm going to be doing a lot of this during this episode, but we're going to start this during this episode. What I could also do is that we could do smaller projects. We could connect Sao Paulo to Mogi. We can connect Mogi over to San Jose, and then San Jose to Taubete, and then Taubete all the way over to Agra dos Reis, and then etc., all the way over to Rio de Janeiro. These are actually going to be much smaller projects, and they would cost a little bit less. However, we do have the idea that it could take a little bit more money than just connecting them directly. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. I'm gonna go ahead and try to lower this deficit just a tiny bit more, and then we're gonna go ahead and do that spending project. So we're gonna look at our debt right now. Our debt situation in Brazil is still very critical. We have been increasing our debt mainly because we have been with such a high deficit. We are lowering it from 7%, and then we are now close to about 4.5%, and I do believe that we have a much higher growth rate right now. So yeah, growth rate right now is 3.992%. Our GDP is at 9.6 trillion reais. We are accounting for 1.87% of the world GDP, and our exports have topped 10 trillion reais this year. So that is amazing that we can see that happen. Imports have gone up by nearly 40 billion reais, and our trade balance is still a positive 7.9 trillion reais. This is up from 7.7 trillion reais in the previous year. And then what we could also do to lower this growth rate while we are seeking better trade deals. We could also go about getting a import contract. A import contract would actually help us in terms of growth. So, but I do see that we did sign an oil contract. This is automobile and oil, and that was about 80 billion. So I'd say this is about this is more than 100 billion. I think it was about 110 billion reais whenever we first signed it. I remember signing it now. We do have pretty good relations with Argentina and Venezuela, and we have neutral relations over with Colombia. So we are still, if I actually go over here, I don't think I really talked about this in the previous episode. I remember actually I didn't really pay too much attention. But basically what I'm doing, so if I'm going over here, okay, manage networks. So if I go over here, you'll actually see that I have a network set up in literally every South American country right now. So we have them in Paraguay, Guyana, Ecuador, Uruguay, Bolivia, Argentina, Venezuela, Peru, and Colombia. So that is the goal right now. We are setting up these. So if I actually come over here, so we have no objectives. Do we have objectives? We do not. So let me go ahead and we're going to go ahead and set all of these to approach political groups, and we're going to be approaching the closest one to us ideologically. So like in Colombia, we're probably going to be going after the Liberal Democratic Party, and then etc. throughout South America. So I'm going to go ahead and get these set up. Won't bore you guys with those details, but I'll go ahead and get that set up, and then we're going to go ahead and lower this deficit. All right, so let's go over to industry. Let's go ahead and see how our industrial sector is doing. We're doing 300 billion reais more in sales and about nearly 100 billion in profits better. Our productivity index is going up, and we are getting more off of the income tax in this sector. We are employing more people in this sector. We have 11 million in 2022 and 14 million in 2024. That is an increase of about 2 million people. That is amazing. And we do see that GDP of activity in the country is going up with the secondary sectors. So we did have active population in 10% in the beginning of 2023, and in about the middle of 2024, we do have 12.6% active population in the secondary sector. We're doing better in exports, and we are importing just a tiny bit more, but our trade balance is still nearly about 2 trillion reais in terms of that. So let's go over to here. Let's see what our electricity surplus is. We're going to go ahead. We have 61. We could go after a third generation nuclear power plant. I don't really want to spend that much right now, but I think we can really start to worry about it whenever it gets around to about 30. Whenever it gets to around 30, we can actually go after that. We can actually go in and build another nuclear power plant. However, we still do have a batch of hydroelectricity plants that are going to be providing more electricity for us. So that will be good. And then we can actually go after maybe some more biomass plants. So 30 of them, we're going to get about 9 terawatts worth of power, which will be good. So that's it's going to be exciting. Onshore, we could go after maybe an onshore plant. Let's go after an onshore one. And let's build this over here just south of Vila Velha. Let's see what that can do for us. Average, what about in the south? So let's see. So yeah, look at that. Emissions, most of it is coming from the forestry sector. That is where all of our emissions are coming from. What are we doing right now? So our expected CO2 emissions will be about 1 gigaton in 2030, and then we need to get to net zero by 2050. However, this is our actual CO2 emissions right now. That was mainly because that we are not continuing the policy that our previous administrations have achieved. So that is the biggest thing. So let's go over. Let's do a little bit more funding into forest fires, and then a little bit more funding into nuclear threats. I think what we can do, I'm really afraid about increasing the wealth tax more. But what we could possibly do is that we can increase the financial transaction tax. Financial transaction tax in the Senate, we could get it passed. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, see what we can do. And then wealth tax. We have a lot of rich people in Brazil. A lot of rich people. I think the highest I'm going to get this to is about 10%, but 6%, we're going to go ahead and give that another increase. Really, really getting a lot of money off of that wealth tax. I think what we could also do is that we could lower the income tax on high, since we are taxing them so much. All right, so what I really want to do, I need to go after, let's see what the reaction would be to this. Yeah, people would hate that. It would pass, but it would be extremely unpopular. Very, very unpopular. So my electricity sector is completely nationalized, which is cool. Which is really cool. It gives me a lot of room to play around and make money off of just in general, because I make like $270 billion worth, 270 reais worth of what do you call it, energy, basically. So inflation is going down. We are now at a record low of 2.7%, which is really, really good. Really, really good. So let's go ahead and lower the key interest rate to 5%. Key interest rate will help us out and will instigate a little bit of more growth. That's actually what I could be doing. I need to be promoting this growth. That way I can start, passing some of these financial transactions. So whenever we make it available again, we're going to lower the interest rate to at least, we're going to say 4%. We're going to lower it to 3.5%, about 4%. So let's go over here. Let's go over to taxation. Go to taxation. Could we? I want to say 7% on the wealth tax. Billionaires are hating me right now. Absolutely hating me. All right, we're going to go ahead and implement a policy that I've been wanting to implement for a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and go over here to deforestation tax. This is a tax anchored in an environmental policy. In contrast, it can harm the spread of cultivations and thus hold back economic growth. We're going to go ahead and do a tax of about 300 reais worth of hectares. So fixed amount per hectare, they have to pay a 300 reais tax in order to cultivate that land. This is equivalent to about $50, about $54 exactly. So let's go ahead and implement this policy. We're going to go ahead and see what the reaction will be. And then people will like it. It's about a light green smiley, and both the left and the right will actually support it. The only one that doesn't really support it is the conformist right coalition. However, we do have the support of our own party and as well as the Senate. So we have an 82% chance of it passing. So let's go ahead and introduce this. And that will actually help in terms of that deforestation number that we so desperately want to go down. So we do see you can do better from the Qinggong rating agency. And then we do see that the United States is saying that our country is at risk.
Your country's elevated financial solvency risk requires us to warn financial players about investment risks. Your rating is not good. You know what you have to do.
You know what you have to do. So we have a 2.81% deficit right now. And then let's see what our agencies are giving us. We have a double B from Grumpy's, a double A from Harshness and Rules, a double B from Quiche, and a double A from Qigong. So it's pretty okay rating. In 2023, we had all double Bs from all the Western agencies, and then a single A from Qigong. So let's go ahead and continue our policies for right now. Really want all of those to say A, at least an A rating right now, but we are still in the process of paying down our debt. So let's go ahead and continue these policies. Our budget deficit right now is 367 billion reais worth of debt, or our deficit. And then public debt is 92%. We need to get that under 90%. That is the goal for right now, that we need to get that under 90%. So let's go ahead and come over here to justice. Let's see what our laws are here in justice. We have high court judges appointed by the state, total independence justice, or we can go for controlled measures for judges and then completely under state control. We could possibly go over, saying there are some control measures for judges. However, I am pretty satisfactory with the high court judges appointed by the state. We could actually go after a more independent justice system and say just total independence across the board. However, I do like that the high court judges are appointed by the state. It's not exact. I mean, it could be a little bit more political, but it's not exactly, the most totalitarian measure that you can take. So, specific criminalization of street harassment. Let's go ahead and introduce this into Parliament right now. Street harassment is described as any form of hostile behavior with sexual connotations conducted in a public area. Its criminalization contributes to equality between men and women, the fight against certain culture of sexism, and the freedom of movement for everyone. Penalties varying on the severity of the offense and can even go out as far as actual imprisonment. So let's go ahead and do a poll right now. Now let's see what this will be. It'll be very well received by the Parliament. We could also go for a referendum. This would pass. It would pass under a referendum. Let's go ahead and do a referendum on this measure. 71% pro and 29% against. It's always really good whenever you leave it to the people to decide instead of allowing their elected representatives to do it themselves. So it kind of makes it a little bit more like, hey, I want to introduce this. This is going to be very different from what we were doing before. If you guys can go ahead and vote on it, that would be amazing. So referendums are a lot more democratic sometimes, depending on the policy that you're going after. Family, let's go over to family. Legislation on abortion, illegal except in the case of rape. And then we could actually go after an illegal type of policy. So what are you guys' thoughts on abortion in Brazil? I'm only asking my Brazilian friends out there. I know exactly what's going on in the United States with abortion. However, what is it like in Brazil? What is the type of policy that Brazil goes after in real life? We do have full equality for homosexual rights right now. We do have full marriage equality, so everyone can get married. Gay people can get married in Brazil. And then we do also have that same-sex parent adoption is legal. So same-sex couples can go and adopt children themselves if they wish to. So right now our deficit is about 2.63%. What we're going to do now is we're going to finally build that highway. So our goal of our budget deficit is now achieved. So what we can do right now is that we can go over to main highways. Let's go over to Sao Paulo, and then what we can do is that we can go ahead and start building this highway toward Rio de Janeiro. So we're gonna go ahead and go we're gonna go straight through this mountain right here, and then we're gonna go along this river, right along these cities, right over to Rio de Janeiro. So we're going to go ahead and connect that highway right now. We're going to go ahead and go for 25 people per kilometer. And that will cost us $6.9 billion. That will cost us 6.9 billion reais, with 30 billion reais over the next 5 years. But usually that kind of fixes itself. Or we could actually go, let's go ahead and get it done in about 6 months. 10.4 billion reais over the next year, and 45 billion reais over the next 5 years. You know what? Never mind. Let's go ahead and go for 25, and then we're going to save the $10 billion for some smaller highway connections. We're going to go ahead and do that. Well, that really increased our deficit, didn't it? But we do have 450 kilometers worth of highways now, which is amazing. And let's go ahead and go to the next day, see what that does. Launching the construction. It's a historic day, Mr. President. This will be our first major highway in the nation. And then we again see that major highway right here. It goes from Sao Paulo all the way over to Rio. It's called the Sao Paulo Rio de Janeiro Highway. We could dismantle if we wanted to. So let's go ahead and go over to key interest rate. We're going to lower this to 3.5%. We're going to go ahead and promote some of that growth, even though I'm kind of breaking the Gabe Vogel rule in which, it's supposed to be within 10% of what your actual inflation is. So, but that is only temporary, only until we can start promoting some economic growth. So let's go over here to finance, 0.45%. Yeah, that's probably why. So we invested in that highway and our growth rate just shot down to about 0.45%. So let's go ahead and lower some taxes if we can. So company tax, we could lower this. We're gonna lower this to, let's do 23%. 23%. We need to keep it above 21%. We can keep it above 21%. That will help us out in terms of signing higher level free trade agreements in the future. Let's go over to diplomacy, see who we have a free trade agreement with, and then we have contract, reciprocal economic contract. Let's go ahead and buff that up to a global economic treaty with the United States. That will actually help us out a little bit. I highly doubt they're going to accept it though right now, mainly because we do not have good relations with each other. However, if I can actually see what our relations are, I can actually make a better judgment. So we have 27. We could actually, it kind of depends. If we get light green, that will help us out even more. However, I'm not too confident that it'll pass.
The bill has been
voted on, and the law has been passed. All these major changes coming into effect right now. The referendum passed. The new law is therefore entered into force. Turnout was average. So, it's about 50%, maybe 50%. Criminalization of street harassment, a major step toward equality. The law that just went into effect has put an end to the stench of male chauvinism that permeates our country. This will not solve all of our problems, but it will give women a sense of freedom in public places. Bravo for your courage. All right, we got a couple of things that just happened. So that free trade agreement from the United States has been rejected. Kind of expected that to happen. However, we do see that the South American Nations Football Championship is up and coming. So we do have this message from the Minister of Youth. We have no intention of becoming second best. Our goal is indeed to go for the title of champion. Let's go over to culture. Let's go over to, no, it's not going to be culture, it's going to be sports. So sports, discipline, and football, soccer. Let's give that one more star in funding, make sure that we are going to be the best of the best. And then let's see what other sports that we can go. Maybe some esports, a little bit more esports. Let's definitely go after some MMA. And then rugby. Where's rugby? I just saw rugby. There you are. Let's do some more rugby. Polo, swimming, judo, gymnastics, weightlifting. Give that some more funding. And car racing, definitely. And then athletics in general. Let's go over for more funding over there. And then fight against doping. Let's do full funding to, okay, let's hold off on that for right now. Scout movements, and then national youth movement as well. Let's go ahead and confirm all of that. And 3.14% is our deficit as of right now. Colombia approach to the Liberal Democratic Party. Let's go ahead and invite them over. Let's go ahead and invite them. And then we do have a national meeting with the president of Argentina. Let's go ahead and look to see what they want to do. They want to purchase some tea from us. 54,000, 100,000. 659,000. Let's do 13,000. 11,000, 13,000. Let's do 12.1. 12.1, 11.9. Sign that over. then we're just gonna have to go in and
Sure.
subsidize the tea. That way we can get more production off of it.
Yes.
Get better commitment for global warming, please. Thank you. If we can get the largest nations in South America to be united in a common front, that will be amazing. That way we can also do in the future, we really need to start thinking about going, creating some sort of South American Union, if we could actually do that. Possibly be a political military movement, but it could also be a monetary union. Monetary union groups together countries using the same currency in order to develop trade and economic activity. The rate for the common currency is fixed relative to the founding country's currency. Regular meetings between heads of state are held to decide on the interest rate charged by the member country's banks. So that can actually help. It will help in terms of economic cooperation in South America, and as well, it will help in developing trade and economic activity, just like it said, between our nations. So, I mean, we could have, like, not only could we have the European Union as the largest single currency in the world, we could be the second largest single currency in the world. I mean, imagine Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, all of them using the same single currency. So that is going to be some sort of goal for us. Now, if I were to do that, what would the name of this currency be, and what would the organization's name be? It could be called the South American Union. I'm probably looking at the South American Union, honestly. However, what should the name and abbreviated name of the currency be? If you guys have any ideas for that, go ahead and put them down in the comments below. If you guys want to see that happen, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Alright, and before we go, we're going to go ahead and look right now. So we had a rising crime rate during this episode, so I actually noticed that crime was actually on its way up. However, it did peak at about 20.5 homicides per 100,000. We did have a peak in last, I believe, August. So last August, it was nearly 21 homicides per 100,000, and it reached a low of nearly 20 and then peaked again at 20.5. So I mean, is this more of a summer thing? The more summers that come by, the more homicides that are happening. So let's go ahead and look. So establish a stock of surveillance cameras. Can we increase that to about 500,000? Is that a possible idea? So that'll cost us about 100 million reais. Let's go ahead and look. So the right is pretty for it. A lot of the left communist parties seem to be pretty much against it. However, the public does seem to be pretty much behind it. Let's go ahead and do this investment and then get that going, and then we'll have that done before we end this episode. So let's go ahead and see what the reaction to that is. Security, human rights, and respect for privacy do have some brown smileys here. However, everyone likes the security behind it. New ambitious space program, Mars US 3, and then we have a boost to the humanitarian organization.
We are hearing at this very moment that confrontations are taking place between law enforcement and the foreign community. According to on-site testimonies, a high-speed chase between the police and two young members of the community went awry. The community members hit a police vehicle which had blocked the road at the last moment, and they died on impact.
Alright, and we do have major riots happening right now in Florianopolis, from the mixed race community. Let's go ahead and go in. God, I hate how just we never get any sort of police presence in these smaller cities. I have to increase the number of police officers by literally millions before I get a satisfactory number. However, let me actually look. Go over to police, go over to budgets, 497,000. We need to get that up to 1 million. If we can get that up to 1 million police officers, that would be perfect. Let's go ahead and we're going to micromanage this a little bit so we don't have to call in the military. So let's do tear gas, and I'm gonna go ahead and deal with this, and then again, I won't bore you guys with the boring stuff, and I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, and now we do see that the law number of surveillance cameras has passed, and then the CIA drug trafficking ring has apparently have a conspiracy theory right now. So let's go ahead and come over here. We're gonna do some more campaigns on stopping these conspiracies from happening, and then we're gonna hope that stops. And our deficit and now is at 2.6%. We're ending this episode on a very good note. We're so close to closing off this deficit and getting into excess as Brazil. And then once we start getting that excess, we'll start paying off our debt reimbursement. And then once we start getting off that reimbursement, we will start allocating that money into other fields such as energy, such as healthcare, and more. So let's go ahead and see. We have a meeting with Paraguay.
Good morning.
So Paraguay will be offering us some foul, and very, very small amounts of foul, 326 tons. Let's go ahead and refuse that because that is like $1 million contract.
Sure.
However, I do want to increase economic cooperation with Paraguay. So Paraguay, you're going to be, let me just remember where Paraguay is. Paraguay. Yep, there he is. So Paraguay, can I offer you a non-aggression pact? Can I offer you a non-aggression pact? Now let's do one more time. If I can do one more time, that'll help. Nope. Sales contracts. Import. What can I import from you that will actually make sense? If I can actually make something that makes sense, the more economic cooperation I can get from these guys, the better relations we can have. So grapes, can I do some agriculture from you? Sodas, tea, oh, we can actually do some tea. No, never mind, they're not gonna want to do some tea. Wine, wood, that's actually something else we can do. We can actually import wood from someone else, and that'll actually kind of kill our industry. Cereals, banana. Yes, the Minions. You guys get your tuxes and go see the Minions movie yet? I haven't. So 8.2. So yeah, let's actually get some bananas from the lads in Paraguay. So 3,038. So let's do 34. Yeah, they're not gonna want to do that.
Yep.
If I can actually get let's do 32. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to get a sufficient economic contract from them. I mean, I could, well, actually, let me do this. Go over to economy. Let's go over to sales. Can I sell them anything? I probably won't be getting that much of a good deal, but it is helping in terms of economic cooperation. So I can actually sell them. Sell price, purchase price. We can get a good, okay, we can actually get a pretty good deal off of this. 138, so let's do $1.1 billion. We're gonna do that. And then we have an issuance of 85.2 billion reais worth of debt off of our central bank. So we do incur this debt from other countries as well. However, in the recent update of Power and Revolution, we do actually incur it from ourselves as well. So it's a pretty low number. It's a pretty low number that we can actually start lowering the amount of debt that we are incurring from our creditors. And like the previous quarters, in the previous episodes, we were actually incurring over 150 billion reais worth of debt. So 85.2 is acceptable. It's good. It's very much lower than what we were incurring before. So I like it. So let's go ahead and say okay to that and see. We now owe ourselves 7.04 trillion reais worth of debt. And then we could actually go after some lower interest rates from China, maybe Japan, and especially Germany and the United Kingdom. We have a lot of debt that we are getting from them. But actually, we could actually really start to try to lower this from China. let's look. So let's meet with this guy, see what we can lower it to before we go. Then we can go on from there. So let's go to the next day, and
We won the competition. It is unbelievable. This is a big moment for sport in our country. Let me kiss you, for this is a collective victory.
All right, so we do win the South American Nations Football Championship. That is amazing. So let's go. Agreement negotiation from Paraguay. Paraguay, 1.088 billion reais. 129,000, about right in the middle between our sell price and purchase price, so that's awesome. Let's go ahead and accept that, and that'll benefit economic cooperation between me and Paraguay. Let's go over to our international lender, offer him a coffee, offer him champagne, tell him he's radiant, tell him we love his country, and then what can we do? So we have loyalty vis-a-vis, and then let's see, what is his country's view of me? They have light red relations. What are we going to be able to do?
Very well. What kind of offer?
And we're going to shoot for 8.25 or 6.25%.
Very well. We accept your offer.
Possibly could have gone for 6%. I wanted to do that, but I didn't want him to terminate the negotiation. But 6.25%, that is good. Good news for us. So let's look. We do see that we have a now changed credit rating of 6.25%. And then current lending total, and then the United States. Let's go ahead and invite him over for a negotiation as well, again, before we go. And then we will go ahead and head out. All right, and now we just achieved a lower interest rate with the United States. So if we go over here, we do see that the United States now has a 4% credit interest rate with us, so that is amazing that we were able to negotiate lower interest rates with our creditors. So guys, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more of Brazil, go ahead and leave a comment down below what your thoughts on this episode were. If you guys want to see more content on this channel, I am now developing a Eversim documentary. This will be a documentary which will discuss the GPS series, and this will be a collaboration between the GPS community as well as Eversim themselves. I've already received confirmation from Luis Marie Riquez himself that this documentary will be supported by Eversim. I cannot wait to make this documentary. This will be my biggest project yet, so look forward to that. If you guys want to see more Federative Republic of Brazil, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss anything whenever I do make it. And in the next episode, we're going to start increasing our relations with other places and then possibly creating the Southern American Monetary Union in this next episode. So leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.